I am with Suraj Lakhotia. He is a CA and a CIMA UK. He is a faculty for ACCA CPA. How do you think ACCA's comparison would be when it is compared to other financial courses that are available in India or maybe globally? Or let's say you compare ACCA with CA, CFA, CPA. What do you think?
Sure. So ACCA, it is a qualification based out of UK, and there it is considered to be equivalent to ICAEW. So even someone who is an ACCA in UK, they can practice and they can sign financial statements. They can audit as chartered accountants too. That is the UK perspective.
What do you think are the advantages of CPA over other courses? What do you think are the advantages of CPA over other courses?
Any international course if you look at, it has a lot to do with decision making skills. जैसे अगर आप इंडिया में सीए करते हो, नॉलेज बहुत है, मैं ये नहीं बोलता कि नॉलेज नहीं है, बट प्रैक्टिकल एप्लीकेशन में कहीं ना कहीं हम थोड़ा कम हो जाते हैं. बट द टाइम आई कंप्लीटेड CIMA यूके, जैसे मैंने CIMA यूके कंप्लीट किया, मेरा पूरा बिजनेस का पर्सपेक्टिव ही चेंज हो गया. स्पेशली ACCA एंड CIMAs, they will give you a pre-seed about some company. So you have to research about that industry, you have to research about similar companies, and then you have to appear in the examination. Sure.
What do you think are the skills required? Are there any skills required for entering ACCA or CPA or CIMA?
So when we talk about skill, so I'll put it into two parts. One is the base qualification and another one is the skill set required.
So पहले अपन बात करते हैं ACCA के बारे में. What is the eligibility criteria? What is the exam pattern? What are the levels covered? How exams are conducted? You mentioned that there are some subjective questions, there are some objective questions. As much as I was aware, I thought there are only objective questions.
Okay.
So what is the exam pattern? What is the passing percentage? Are there any scholarships given? What are the fees? All these things.
Okay. So yeah.
What is CIMA UK? And थोड़ा सा brief में अगर आप बता पाओ कि what does it cover? And is it only relevant in UK or maybe other countries? What is it about?
Okay, so when it comes to CIMA UK, so the CIMA stands for Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. In fact, they have an MOU with AICPA as well. Okay, so when you talk about CIMA, it is more a management accounting course. So if you look at CPA or if you look at ACCA or a CA, they are accounting oriented course or auditing oriented course. But if you look at CIMA, it is a management accounting oriented course. So it is more about cost accounting, performance management, decision making related aspects. Comparable to CMA US or CMA in India, similar syllabi structure is what you would have. Okay.
So what are the job packages? What are the job levels in India for a person who has done ACCA? Let's talk about ACCA first, then CPA.
Okay, so if you have completed ACCA all levels, right, and if you are starting as a fresher, see, salary depends on your qualification, your experience, and your skill set.
Okay, so let me divide it in two. First, let's talk about the person who has done graduation, who has done ACCA, these two things. Second would be a professional, suppose a CA, who has done CA and ACCA.
So courses wise, I think we have covered, lastly, whichever course you pursue, whatever you're doing, career choice should be based on your interest level. That is one thing what I would like to communicate through this interview. It should, see, salary is important, but salary should not be the only criteria for you to take up a particular kind of role. Otherwise क्या हो जाएगा कि सैलरी देख के आप ज्वाइन कर लोगे, फिर या तो कंपनी पसंद नहीं आएगी, कल्चर पसंद नहीं आएगा, काम पसंद नहीं आएगा, फिर 6 महीने के बाद कुछ ढूंढते फिरोगे. तो ये गलती नहीं करना है. आराम से 1 महीना 2 महीना लेट भी हुआ, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. आराम से अपना स्किल सेट, अपना इंटरेस्ट लेवल के हिसाब से आपको अपना करियर अपॉर्चुनिटी या करियर पाथ चूज करना.
Hello everyone. Today I am with Suraj Lakhotia. He is a CA and a CIMA UK. He is a faculty for ACCA CPA. So welcome Suraj. How are you?
Thanks Prashant. Good morning everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm doing great. How are you, Prashant?
I am good as well. So let's start our discussion without any further ado. Suraj, please introduce yourself.
Hello everyone. I'm Suraj. I'm a chartered accountant and CIMA UK qualified. I have over 7 years of corporate work experience, post which I have jumped into full-time teaching. So currently, I teach ACCA students, CPA students, CA students, and also I mentor CIMA students.
Okay, so let's start. Let's start with first ACCA, then we'll try to cover CPA and then CIMA.
Sure.
So ACCA, how do you think ACCA's comparison would be when it is compared to other financial courses that are available in India or maybe globally? Or let's say you compare ACCA with CA, CFA, CPA. What do you think?
Sure. ACCA, it is a qualification based out of UK, and there it is considered to be equivalent to ICAEW. So even someone who is an ACCA in UK, they can practice and they can sign financial statements. They can audit as chartered accountants too. That is the UK perspective. Now, over a period of time, the qualification has become a global qualification and it is recognized in multiple different countries. Now, how do we compare this? So, there are different ways to look at it. One, if we compare, let's say, in India with a chartered accountant. So, of course, a chartered accountant has a practicing authority, which a ACCA does not have. But if you look at globally as well, so if you mentioned about courses like, let's say, CPA. Now, CPA of US is focused more on US GAAP and US accounting. So if you are planning to join, let's say, a US MNC, then CPA would make more sense. But if you look at ACCA, it is based on more IFRS. So globally, it is based on IFRS. And as we know, IFRS is used in most of the countries, including India, which has a convergence with IFRS. So if you're looking at
Yes.
other countries, let's say Middle East or Asian countries, then ACCA would cover those IFRS standards, which would actually help you to work in those companies. You also mentioned about CFA. Now, CFA, I would say, is more of a investment oriented capital market, making investment decisions, investment banking side. So
Yes.
it is completely different as compared to, let us say, ACCA or CPA.
Okay, so basically ACCA जो है that is totally related to the accounting thing and global accounting when we talk about IFRS. But when we
Yes.
talk about CPA, it's locally we can say it's locally related to US only. That is why it's CPA US, CPA Canada, CPA UK, CPA Australia, something like that, right?
Yeah. So one thing you mentioned, CPA Australia. Now,
Hmm.
CPA Australia is also based on IFRS. Unlike
Okay.
CPA of US, which is purely based on US GAAP,
Hmm.
this one is based on IFRS.
Okay. And the Canada will be for Canada, the UK one would be for UK, right?
Yeah. So
Something like that.
For UK we have ICAEW and ACCA.
Okay, there is no C for that.
There is no
CPA, CPA
no no
यूके जैसा कुछ नहीं है, राइट?
नहीं नहीं वैसा कुछ नहीं है. सो जैसे अब अगर आपको यूके में प्रैक्टिस करना है तो आईसीएडब्ल्यू या एसीसीए दैट इज
ओके.
फॉर यूके. अगर आपको यूएस में कुछ करना है, यूएस बेस्ड कंपनीज के लिए कुछ करना है तो
हम्म.
सीपीए यूएस. वैसे सीपीए ऑस्ट्रेलिया फॉर ऑस्ट्रेलियन बेस्ड कंपनीज. बट देन अगेन सीपीए ऑस्ट्रेलिया इज बेस्ड ऑन आईएफआरएस.
Okay, so it would be more beneficial to do CPA Australia than any other courses if we say.
तो मैं तो क्या बोलता हूँ कि स्टूडेंट का ओरिएंटेशन क्या है. इफ अ स्टूडेंट वांट्स टू गो टू लेट्स से मिडिल ईस्ट, then ACCA is also good, CPA is also good because you have a lot of US companies. Even in India, like you have a lot of US based companies, right? So depending on what is my orientation, मुझे फ्यूचर में कहाँ रहना है, उसी हिसाब से you should take a call.
Okay, so now let's talk about the advantages. What do you think are the advantages of CPA over other courses? What do you think are the advantages of CPA over other courses?
Okay. So now when we say CPA over other courses, so I myself am a chartered accountant. Then I went on and pursued CIMA UK, right? Now a lot of students ask me, why did you pursue that course? So one thing what I realized is any international course if you look at, it has a lot to do with decision making skills. जैसे अगर आप इंडिया में सीए करते हो, नॉलेज बहुत है, मैं ये नहीं बोलता कि नॉलेज नहीं है, बट प्रैक्टिकल एप्लीकेशन में कहीं ना कहीं हम थोड़ा कम हो जाते हैं. बट द टाइम आई कंप्लीटेड सीआईएमए यूके, जैसे मैंने सीआईएमए यूके कंप्लीट किया, मेरा पूरा बिजनेस का पर्सपेक्टिव ही चेंज हो गया. द वे आई लुक एट थिंग्स, मैनेजमेंट का पर्सपेक्टिव क्या रहता है, कॉस्टिंग का डिसीजंस कैसे होता है, हाउ डू यू इंटीग्रेट ऑल ऑफ दोस सब्जेक्ट्स इनटू अ सिंगल केस स्टडी एंड सॉल्व द प्रॉब्लम्स. ये चीज इंटरनेशनल कोर्सेज में बहुत ज्यादा है. तो अगर आप फॉर एग्जांपल एसीसीए कोर्स कंपेयर कर, एसीसीए अच्छा वेट ओवर सीपीए राइट, सॉरी.
CPA, हाँ.
तो अगर आप जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल सीपीए लेते हो, तो सीपीए में क्या है, यू हैव सेम फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्टिंग है, ऑडिट है, टैक्स है, देन यू हैव रेगुलेशंस, रिलेटेड सब्जेक्ट्स है. But then when you appear in the examination, the case studies are really tough. The simulation questions which are asked, they are really tough and related to real life. ठीक है.
Okay.
So that is one thing. And second advantage what I feel is, for a professional qualification, if you look at a CPA, you can write one paper at a time. You can complete those four papers in a timeline of around 12 to 18 months. Okay, so that
Okay.
makes the qualification faster.
Okay.
And then because if you are, let's say you are looking for a US MNC, then you know the job opportunities open up.
Okay.
And I've also seen a lot of students who are struggling to clear CA. They are doing really well in US CPA. I'm not saying that US CPA is better than CA, but for a lot of students who find it कि मतलब नहीं हो रहा है, then for them it is actually better.
And when we talk about ACCA,
So ACCA, what happens is, especially the UK-based courses, they are slightly longer. For example, ACCA 13 papers, right? So
okay,
13 papers likhna hai, you can write one paper at a time. Or if you are, let's say, a graduate, if you are a CA inter qualified, or if you are a CA final qualified, then you'll get some exemptions. But again, the advantage is you can write one paper at a time. Now, the way ACCA works is you will learn same things at, let's say, skill level and also at strategic level, but the level of testing is very different. The moment you move to strategic level, it is more about case studies. It is more about understanding a full length case and then answering the question. It is about, so generally the way it works, especially ACCA and CIMAs, they will give you a pre-scene, some about some company, so you have to
okay.
research about that industry, you have to research about similar companies, and then you have to appear in the examination. So that makes it really practical oriented.
And I
And
think it's getting actually a common pattern because जब श्री राम के साथ भी discussion हो रहा था about CFA,
Mhm.
it was the same thing कि you will study the same subjects on each level, but
Correct.
the level of difficulty will increase. When we talk about CA, we are covering same kind of subjects only, but the
Correct.
level of difficulty increases. So I
Yes.
think it's common in professional courses कि
Courses.
ऐसा होना is kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's move ahead. Uh, skills के बारे में थोड़ा बात करते हैं.
Sure.
What do you think are the skills required? Are there any skills required for entering ACCA or CPA or CIMA?
So when we talk about skill, so I'll put it into two part. One is the
Yeah.
base qualification, and
Okay.
another one is the skill set required. So as far as qualification is concerned, if you have to do a CPA,
Hmm.
then you need graduation with certain number of credits. Now that credit depends on which board are you choosing, and accordingly you will get the credits. So
Okay.
normally graduation in India is not sufficient, so you have to do one more course to be eligible for that. Whereas if you come to ACCA, after 12th, you can start your ACCA journey. Now, this is the technical or the educational qualification part. But when it comes to skill set or when it comes to attempting the examination,
Hmm.
appearing in the examination, we need good understanding skills. We need good English skills. Now, this is very important because a lot of times questions are not very clear. Even as faculties, we have to read it two, three times to understand कि वो इंग्लिश में क्या बोलना चाहते हैं. Okay, so that is where I think we need to put some focus on trying to understand longer paragraphs, longer sentences, right? That will help you definitely. And then all of these examinations are based on computers. So you have to write the exams in computers. You will be given spreadsheets of some kind of Word doc, not exactly a word, similar to Word where you have to type in your answer. So typing becomes very important. तो ये चीज तो मतलब बहुत लोग भूल जाते हैं. So the thing I tell all the students pursuing CPA में थोड़ा कम रहता है, but let's say if you're doing ACCA, if you're doing CIMA, if you're doing CMA US, typing is very, very important. So a lot of students who are not good at typing, they can't write the full answers. So I keep telling the students, if you double your typing speed, you can write double the content in your examination. So that is what is a very important skill which nobody talks about actually, but बहुत जरूरी है वो. तो ये सब है एंड देन प्रॉब्लम सॉल्विंग. आई शुड नॉट गेट स्केर्ड विद अ लॉन्ग क्वेश्चन व्हिच इज बीइंग गिवन कि अब इसको हैंडल कैसे करना है. उसको ब्रेक डाउन करना है, उसका एनालिसिस करना है एंड देन उसका सॉल्यूशन निकालना
Great. And ये वाले जो skills आपने बताया, I don't think we have covered in any of the episodes till.
है. हाँ.
These are actually very good suggestions. Uh, we have talked about the skill requirement before entering the course.
Right.
What about after completing the course?
So
मतलब कौन से
mm,
skills आपको लगता है कि
mm.
they are improved or maybe they are acquired after doing these courses?
So one thing, as you complete the course, decision making skills improve, decision making or problem
Okay.
solving, which is very important in corporate. See, it is not that I give a trial balance and I ask you to prepare P&L and balance sheet. In today's era, computers would do that. Artificial intelligence is all over there, right? So what businesses want is, in a given scenario, what should be the decision? What are the pros? What are the cons? For example, if you have to launch a product or if you have to run a discount offer, what is the implication on the business, costing, taxation? You integrate. So you have to integrate everything and you have to solve the question. That is, a part of all of these international courses where you have a overall picture of the business. Not only that debit credit. It is much beyond that. For example, if you look at a final level paper of an ACCA, it is not about preparing balance sheets only. It is about understanding the balance sheets and giving your insights. So that is one important skill what you get when you do these international courses. Perspective becomes very different. In fact, my perspective completely changed after I pursued CIMA UK. The way you look at
Okay.
business, the way you integrate subjects, that actually changes. And one more thing, students should also start, working on their communication skills. That is very very important. Where you can go out and speak in the interview, you can interact with other business, other departments. So that is very very important, which I see lacking in a lot of students.
Okay. So let's move ahead. Let's talk about these courses in detail.
Sure.
सबसे पहले अपन बात करते हैं ACCA के बारे में.
Hmm.
What is the eligibility criteria? What
Okay.
is the exam pattern? What
Hmm.
are the levels covered?
Okay.
How exams are conducted? मतलब you mentioned कि there are some subjective questions, there are some objective questions. As much as
Right.
I was aware, I thought there are only objective questions. So
Okay.
what is the exam pattern? What is the passing percentage? Are there any scholarships given? What are the
Sure.
fees? All these things.
Okay, so you have asked a lot of questions, right? Now, when it comes to ACCA, right, it is divided into three levels.
Hmm.
We call it the knowledge level, skill level, and professional level. These are the three levels
Okay.
which are there in an ACCA program. Now, when it comes to eligibility, you can start as soon as you complete your 10+2. That some do that. A lot of them do it when they are pursuing graduation. Okay,
Okay.
so there are papers at knowledge level, skill level, and professional level. So what happens is, if you are pursuing graduation, you get certain exemptions. Means you don't need to write those papers for ACCA. So generally, all the papers of knowledge levels are exempt, and some papers depending on which university you are from. Let's say you are from Delhi University, so some papers would be exempted. You are from
Okay.
let's say some other university, some other papers may be exempted. Let's say you have completed CA final, so entire your knowledge level and skill level gets exempted. So this you can check it on the ACCA website as to which papers are exempted. Now, one thing what I want to tell to all the students here is, even though papers are exempted, still they should put in effort to learn those papers. Otherwise, what happens is, I have seen some students who take exemptions in knowledge level and skill level, and they struggle at the strategic level or the professional level because जो foundation base था वो कभी बना ही नहीं.
That is not covered, huh?
See, you can say BCom, if you have completed BCom, we will exempt you from this paper. But then ACC has a completely different requirement. So that foundation, thing was, missing in those students. So even if the paper is exempt or if the papers are exempted, you should, try to complete or at least read those papers. That is one thing. Okay. So your papers like financial accounting, business technology, management accounting, law, financial reporting, taxation. So a variety of things, and covered over three different levels. So that is as far as the levels are concerned, right?
Okay.
Then you also asked about, I think, what was the next thing I missed?
Yeah. So we have covered eligibility, we have covered levels. So let's talk about the subjects. कि give a overview कि ACCA में कैसे कैसे subjects cover होते हैं on each level.
Okay. So when we talk about ACCA, as I mentioned, there are three levels. So at the knowledge level, we have subjects like business technology that talks about business, financial accounting that is about basics of accounting. Then we
Okay.
have management accounting, basics of costing. Okay. And when you move to skill level, we have law that covers corporate and business law. Then we have financial reporting. We have performance management that is again to do with the costing. Then
Okay.
we have taxation, audit, and also financial management. As we move to professional level, there are two compulsory subjects and there are two optional subjects. Now, first one is a strategic business reporting, that is more about your financial reporting from business point of view. Then we have strategic business leader, that is more about strategic management from a leadership point of view. Then we have to choose between advanced performance management, advanced financial management, taxation and audit. Out of these four, we need to choose any two papers.
Okay, understood. So we have covered eligibility, we have covered levels, we have covered the subjects. Let's move on to the examination part. Okay,
Okay.
what is the exam structure? What is the pattern, and what is the structure of the exam?
So when it comes to examinations, right? So examinations are conducted online. These are computer-based examination. Okay.
Okay,
When you start at the knowledge level, you have an on-demand exam which is objective type. Okay.
okay,
When you move to skill level, it would be objective plus subjective. When I say subjective, they would ask you to give something called as constructive responses. Okay, that is
okay,
also computer based. And when we move to professional papers are scenario based exams, so they will give you some kind of scenario beforehand. For example, let us say they'll give you a particular company, a dummy company in a particular industry. So let us say ABC company is in oil and gas industry, and they'll give you
mm,
details about when did they start, how did they start, what is the current problem, what are the current structure, organizational structure, financial performance. All of those things are compiled and given to you as a pre-scene. Now the student is supposed to read through that pre-scene and then prepare according to it and go and attempt the examination. So in examination you will have some more information which is called as unseen, and based on those pre-seen and unseen you have to attempt your examination.
okay.
Sure.
What is the fees criteria? मतलब fees का क्या structure रहता है for ACCA registration fees, early registration fees like in CFA, and are there any scholarships provided?
Okay, sure. So when it comes to fees, there are different categories, and based on those categories, the fee structure would change. Okay, so first thing what you have is the registration fee, which you have to pay to ACCA. Then you
Okay,
have the examination fees for different papers. Now, what happens is when you talk about ACCA, there are some discounts available if you go through a ALP, which is an approved learning partner. So if you're going through an approved learning partner, for example, if you go through, let's say, Indigo Learn, you go through us and we are an approved learning partner. So
mm,
there you get discounts in some exemption fees and registration fees. And also, as I told you, that some papers are exempted. तो डिपेंडिंग
mm,
ऑन आपका कौन सा पेपर एग्जाम्ड है, आप कौन से लेवल पे हो, उस हिसाब से फीस वुड बी चेंजिंग. सो फॉर एग्जांपल इफ यू हैव नो पेपर एग्जाम्ड, roughly around 3 lakhs would be the total fees, with
okay,
coaching and
mm,
all included. But let's say if you have already completed CA final, then the fees would be in the range of 1.5 lakhs to 1.8 lakhs. Okay,
okay,
depending on whether you want tuitions or not, depending on how many exemptions you claim, accordingly the fee would change. So basically क्या होता है, you have to pay registration fee, you have to pay the exam fee, and you have to pay the exemption fee. So
okay,
exemption fee मतलब even if I don't have to write a paper, I have to pay the exemption fee.
10 o'clock.
okay,
Okay, but then if you are going to a learning partner, approved learning partner, what they say, there you would get some discount when you are paying the exemption fee. And apart from this, you also need to pay the annual subscription fee. So if I consider one student who will be passing the examinations for all levels in 2 to 3 years time, close to about 4 lakhs will be the expense. If you
okay,
are BCom, pursuing BCom, the expenses would be around 2.5 lakhs, including tuition fees. And CA final, it will be around 1.5 to 1.8 lakhs.
okay. And what about a student like me who has just completed CA intermediate level?
So you have completed C intermediate level. So you get exemptions in the entire knowledge level. You get
Okay,
some paper exemption in skill level. So we are required to write only 3 papers, and then you have to write the 4 papers at the final level. Okay. So
okay,
for you, the fee structure would be somewhere around 2 lakhs.
okay. समझा. And any scholarship scheme?
No, there is nothing called scholarship as such. The only thing that you get is this exemptions and discounts.
Okay. Mm,
So if let us say they have some MOU with some university,
hmm,
there they may do a further waiver of some kind of registration fees.
okay. So let's talk about CPA now.
Sure.
All these things that we have covered, let's
Mhm.
cover these for CPA.
Okay.
What are the eligibility criteria for CPA?
Okay.
So let's cover first that.
So when you have to do the, look at the CPA program, you have to look at it from a graduation perspective. So you need to be a graduate, a minimum graduate with
Okay.
specified credits. So what happens is, depending on your graduation and CA qualification, they would allot you some number of credits. Okay,
Okay.
and based on those credits, and depending on which board you apply for, then they would admit you into the program. So because a lot of the times what happens is, because students don't have sufficient credits, so they also pursue some kind of post graduation. Okay,
Okay.
because and by pursuing post graduation, they would be able to get that extra credits.
But when I talk about credits, suppose if there is a student like me who is pursuing CA who hasn't done graduation, what
Correct.
about a person, what about me?
So,
मतलब अगर मुझे CPA करना है,
mhm.
तो what is the
Then
criteria for
you
CPA?
have to start graduate, because the number of credits would not be sufficient.
Okay, because
Okay.
अभी UGC से भी ग्रांट आया है
Mhm.
कि CA will be equal to post graduation, so उससे कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा.
Above was, so it depends on what the board at CPA they consider. See,
Okay.
we may say CA is equal to post graduation, but then what
Hmm.
they consider accordingly, it would be calculated. So generally, the suggestion is to do some kind of bridge course, some kind of extra course, at for with some universities. So lot of the service providers, what they have is, they have some kind of tie up with some, let's say, MIT University or some other
Okay.
university, where you are pursuing this program, so that you get the sufficient credits for your qualification.
Hmm. Understood. And what are the levels in CPA?
So here there is no concept of levels. Okay, there are
Okay.
papers. So you don't have like level one, level two, level three, like we saw in ACCA. Here you
Yes.
have only the what do you call, subjects. Okay, so for
Okay.
example, FAR, financial reporting would be one. Then you have audit related. Then you have business related. Then you have regulations, that is taxation related. So these are the subjects that you actually
Okay.
do.
अंडरस्टूड लेवल्स कैसे रहते हैं यहाँ पे लाइक हार्ड रहता है पेपर वाइज जैसे इंक्रीज होगा या व्हाट इज द
No, no. So
क्राइटेरिया
because each paper is independent. So what happens is, you take. So there are four papers.
ओके
Okay. Out of the four papers, three are core, which are mandatory. So you have,
ओके
let us say, FAR, financial accounting and reporting, auditing, and regulations. These three are your
ओके
core papers. Then you have one more optional paper. I mean, optional paper depending on what is your interest. Like if you want, let us say, go into, let's say, in as an analyst, or in the business analysis field or financial analysis, you choose business analysis and reporting. If you want to go to taxation part, you do tax compliance. If you want to specialize in information systems, you take that. So one of these three you have to choose. So totally four papers. And one more thing, what you have to understand here is, it is not that you write one paper and then you write the next paper. You can choose any paper and write.
ओके
Same thing with ACC also. At a given
ओके
level, let us say you're pursuing skill level, you can
हम्म
choose any paper you want to write, and you can write the paper.
ओके काश ऐसा सीए में भी होता
So, and the best part is, because you write one paper at a time, the burden on the student is very less. See,
यस
if I have to prepare eight papers, or now of course six papers at a time writing is very difficult.
एंड द डे गैप इज आल्सो वेरी लेस एक एक दिन में डेढ़ डेढ़ दिन में आपको पूरा
Correct.
रिवाइज करके करना है
So generally, CPMA, what students do is, they do, what do you call it? Generally, what the students would do is, they would choose two papers or one paper. In ACCA, they would do two papers. In CPA, they would choose one paper, write that paper,
ओके
then start the preparation for the next paper.
ओके समझा एंड व्हाट इज द कॉस्ट ऑफ दिस कोर्स एट डिफरेंट लेवल्स
So it's not about levels; it's a total course fee, I would say. Okay, so you have to pay something to the CPA thing, your AICPA something you have to pay. You have to pay the examination, and then generally students would want to go for tuitions as well, or coaching as well. Okay, so
ओके
all in put together, it would be in the range of about 4 to 4.5 lakhs. Means your examination fee. So you have to pay examination fee for all the papers. Then you have to pay the evaluation fee. You have to pay the registration fee. All put together would be in the range of 4 to 4.5 lakhs.
ओके
So there is also one thing that earlier it was only conducted in the US. Okay, Now they have started conducting the exams in India as well. So the thing is, if you write exams outside of the US, you have to pay a higher fee. Okay, but if you want to go and write the exam in US, your travel and accommodation cost would be higher. So net
Yes.
it comes down to the same number.
ओके बट सीपीए के साथ एमओयू नहीं है राइट फॉर एनी पेपर फॉर एनी लेवल
No, no, there is no MOU from CA or any other institute.
अंडरस्टूड so let me ask this question you have a working experience in corporate as well
Right.
so what do you think is CPA ACCA CIMA worth it like literally worth it or not when we go into corporate world
Okay, so it depends. Okay, so there are two. There I would segregate, or I would divide the answers for two types of audiences.
okay
One is who are pursuing CA and are completing CA. Other one is who are doing graduation. Right.
okay
Now, if I talk about the ones who are doing graduation, and when we talk about graduation, what we need to understand is only with a graduate, or only if you're only a graduate, the chances of doing great in corporates is very less, right?
mm,
If you join as a graduate, you will be doing some kind of work, and you will grow maybe slowly over a period of time, but you will not reach the managerial role. So for those who are only pursuing graduation and not any other professional course, they should definitely go for one of the professional courses. I'll just give you an example. We had one, the senior manager when we joined, when I was working in BPCL. He was a graduate, but then as per the company policy, after a certain level, promotion was only given to professionals. So at that stage of career, after working for 15, 20 years, he had to pursue a professional course. Okay. So a lot of companies, they consider this. So for only graduations, definitely it is a must have. You should choose any one professional course depending on your area of interest and do it. When it comes to CA plus one more professional course will keep you ahead of the crowd. Anytime, if you, for example, if you have to choose a cricket player, only a batsman versus a batsman and a bowler, right? So you'd always want to go with an all-rounder or someone who has
yes
a diverse perspective, correct?
yes
So CA will give you immense technical skills, no doubt about that. You add problem solving skills, decision making skills of international courses, you become a complete package. So that is where what I would suggest is not only look at it from, okay, I am CA and I know everything. You should also look at professional courses. In fact, just to give a perspective, I know, so in my batch we have sorry. So just to give you a perspective, when I passed CA, so I am an All India rank holder too. My
okay
friend who is also an All India rank holder too. Okay, so he went ahead and he completed MBA from IIM Kolkata. So I, of course, did not choose to pursue MBA. And then later I was discussing with him, what is the difference? You are a CA rank holder working in one of the finest. He was working with ArcelorMittal. You're working in one of the finest companies, and then you come back and you do an MBA, and now you're working in McKinsey. What is the difference? So he says, knowledge-wise, if you ask me, there is not great value addition. In CA, whatever
mm,
you have learned, that is more than sufficient. But your presentation skills, your communication skills, your networking skills, these all get enhanced when you do an MBA. And you also get a stamp of IIM. Right? Same way,
yes
if I'm searching for some candidate, if I get CA with 3 years of experience, I get a CA plus, let us say, CPA with 3 years of experience, I would be inclined to the one who has one more qualification.
mm,
So that will keep you ahead of the crowd. And also, growth will be faster, perspective will be wider. That is for sure, I can tell you.
ओके सो मतलब जिन्होंने ग्रेजुएशन किया है दे शुड परसू सम प्रोफेशनल कोर्स जो ऑलरेडी प्रोफेशनल्स है दे शुड एक्वायर सम एडिशनल प्रोफेशनल
Professional.
कोर्सेज टू कीप देम अहेड ऑफ द क्राउड
Correct. So,
ओके
in fact, you had a word with Sriram. So, he was a CA, then he was doing his ISB MBA,
यस
and then he was also pursuing CFA. I asked him, why were you doing CFA? He said, when someone shortlists my resume, I am ahead of everybody, right? So,
यस
and it's not only about being ahead of the crowd, आपका knowledge भी बढ़ेगा. ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ एक कोई कोर्स है और सब बरोबर है. सबका एग्जाम का तरीका अलग रहता है, टेस्टिंग का तरीका अलग रहता है, अंडरस्टैंडिंग का तरीका अलग रहता है, तो फिर आपका पर्सपेक्टिव भी वाइड हो जाता है.
अग्रीड आपने ये सब कवर किया बट माय कोर क्वेश्चन इज स्टिल अनआंसर्ड इज इट वर्थ इट और नॉट
It is definitely worth it. Now, okay. So coming to whether it is worth it, and specifically in India,
Huh.
so if we talked about a lot of qualifications, right? So if I have to order in importance, CPA and ACCA worth it. CPA for US based companies and ACCA for other companies.
Okay.
The next courses which are sought after in accounting field is CMA US and CIMA UK.
Okay.
These don't add much value. So CIMA UK will add value for the individual, but if you go out and see CIMA UK based jobs,
Hmm.
okay, in India you will not find much.
Okay.
Same thing for CMA US, you will find some jobs, but it will not be great in number as compared
Hmm.
to ACCA and CPA. And one more advantage is ACCA has corporate tie-ups as at an institute level. So job openings, job placements becomes slightly more easier. So definitely worth it.
Okay.
But yes, CMA and CIMA, knowledge badana, you can do it. But by doing that, you will get a great career enhancement because corporate will come running after you. वैसा नहीं होने वाला है. CIMA UK तो I would not even consider as far as the Indian context is concerned. Unless you have
Okay.
plans कि मुझे CIMA UK करके I have to shift to UK, then that is a different thing. Okay, then we have one more qualification, CFA. बहुत लोगों को मतलब रहता है कि we have to do CFA. CFA is a must do for those who want to make career in let's say investment, stock markets, capital markets, bonds market and all of that. It is not for everyone who wants to it's
Hmm.
not that कि CFA करने से I'll suddenly get a great job opportunity. अगर आपका mindset इन्वेस्टमेंट वाला नहीं है, अगर कैपिटल मार्केट ओरिएंटेशन ही नहीं है, तो CFA करके कोई फायदा नहीं. You may get a
Okay.
job, but then you will do a bad job at the job.
Hmm. Agreed. Let's talk about SEMA UK a bit, since we are discussing it from the starting. What is SEMA UK? And थोड़ा सा brief में अगर आप बता पाओ कि what does it cover and is it only relevant in UK or maybe other countries? What is it about?
Okay. So when it comes to CIMA UK, so the
Hmm.
CIMA stands for Chartered Institute of Management Accountants. In
Okay.
fact, they have an MOU with AICPA as well. Okay. So
Okay.
when I talk about CIMA, it is more a management accounting course. So if you look at CPA or if you look at ACCA or a CA, they are accounting oriented course
Hmm.
or auditing oriented course. But if you look at CIMA, it is a management accounting oriented course. So it is more about cost accounting, performance management, decision making related aspects. Comparable to CMA US or CMA in India, similar, syllabi structure is what you would have. Okay. So again, when it comes to CIMA, you have different levels. Okay, you have the operational level, what they call it, operational case study level. They have the operational level, they have something called as the management level, and then they have something called as the strategy level. So this also works on three different levels. So first you write the operational level, then you move to management level, and then you move to the strategic level. So here also you learn about financial accounting, you learn about cost accounting, you learn about strategic management. They call it three pillars. So those three pillars you have to learn and move on to the next levels. As far as the exams are concerned, they are conducted in India as well. They are conducted across the globe as well. So the course is more for management accounting people who want to work in the management accounting team of corporates, where they can take or where they can give inputs for decision making. So let's say budgeting, forecasting, business decisions, expansions, and related aspects. Very little to do with auditing and financial reporting. Of course, financial reporting is a part of the syllabus, but that is not the wait, what do you call? But
Core
that is not.
function. Huh.
Of course, the financial reporting is part of the syllabus, but that is not the core of the syllabus.
Okay. So now let's come to the earning part.
Sure,
Uh, you have a working experience. You are also connected with the working professional right now as well. So,
correct.
what are the job packages? What are the job levels in India
Mhm,
for a person who has done ACCA? Let's
mhm.
talk about ACCA first, then CPA.
Okay, so if you have completed ACCA all levels, right, and if you are starting as a fresher, see, salary depends on your qualification, your experience, and your skill set. Okay,
Okay, so
so
let me divide
assuming.
it in two.
Mhm.
First, let's talk about the person who has done graduation, who has done ACCA, these two things.
Okay,
Second
okay,
would be a professional, suppose a CA, who
okay.
has done CA and ACCA.
Sure. So someone who has done a graduation has completed ACCA, starting salary could be in the range of 6 to 7 lakhs
Okay.
to begin with. Okay. Then the salary levels change and increase as you start working and as you start demonstrating your knowledge in the corporate. Only then the
Okay.
salary levels would increase or change substantially. Now, when it comes to, let's say, you're a professional and ACCA, initially you may not see a great gap in salary. Let's say a freshly qualified CA, if he's making, let's say, around 8 to 10 lakhs a year on an average. Okay, there are higher salaries also, there are some lower salaries also. Those are case specific. But
Okay.
normally, if you, let's say, you qualify and you join a decent company, you make around 10, 8 to 10 lakhs a month, 8 to 10 lakhs a year starting. If you're an ACCA, you may get slightly more edge, maybe a couple of lakhs extra. But on the longer term, your career progression will be faster.
Okay.
So that is how we have to look at. Now you also asked about salaries for CPAs. CPA salaries also would be ranging in around 7 to 9 lakhs to start with. And as you
Okay.
start progressing, the salary growth would depend on your performance. One thing what a lot of students miss out is they think हमने CPA कर लिया, हमने ACCA खत्म कर लिया, कंपनीज आएंगे थाली में जॉब लेके। वैसा नहीं होता। कोई माला पहना के आपको जॉब नहीं दे, आपको उसके लिए एफर्ट लगाना पड़ता है, आपका कम्युनिकेशन वर्क करना पड़ेगा। आई हैव सीन लॉट ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स हू डू नॉट इवन स्पीक इन इंटरव्यूज, ओके, जस्ट बिकॉज़ यू हैव रिटन एन एग्जामिनेशन, पास्ड एन एग्जामिनेशन, अगर आप सामने जाके आप बता नहीं पाओगे कि आप क्या कर सकते हो, आप क्या करते हो, ठीक है? तो फिर जॉब प्रॉस्पेक्ट्स बिकम्स वेरी
Yes.
ब्लीक।
Okay. So when you talk about the communication skills, how much importance would you give to networking for a ACCA, CPA, or any other profession?
So when it comes to networking, it is very important for everyone, whether you're doing a business, whether you're working somewhere. Now, why networking? Why is it necessary? Why is it important? One is networking gives you opportunities. Okay, you get to know what are the various opportunities. Second, you get new ideas. So let's say you attend, you meet someone, right? You discuss some problems with that person. You get some ideas. Then that helps you to actually grow. So if I have a good network of people working across different companies, and whenever there is an opportunity which comes up, they would actually, if they reach out to me, then I will actually be able to grab that opportunity. So that actually helps in the long term career growth. Okay.
Okay.
And that is very, very, very important to, especially if you see, people would ask, can you refer me to this company, can you refer me to that company? The larger your network, higher is the possibility to
Yes.
put it into the, what do you call it, that respective company. Now one thing what students also need to understand is networking does not only mean LinkedIn network, it has to be an active networking. Just because I have created a LinkedIn account and I have 2,000 followers, that is not my network. Nobody would be there to come out and help me on that, right? Of course, it is
Agree.
important. I'm not saying no, but you have to work towards active networking. Attend sessions, attend seminars, attend conferences, meet new people, get new ideas. You get a different perspective. Acha, okay, this is also possible. Oh, this also can be done. This is happening in this company,
Mm.
right? So, in fact, when we were in corporates, we used to get speakers from other companies to come and talk to us. Okay, so
Okay.
that is the kind of knowledge sharing which happens when you have a good network.
Agreed. So I think we have covered everything that can be covered about ACCA, about CPA, and additionally about CIMA UK as well.
Yeah.
Any additional point which you would like to add about any of these courses?
So courses wise, I think we have covered. Lastly, whichever course you pursue, whatever you're doing, career choice should be based on your interest level. That is one thing what I would like to communicate through this, interview. It should see salary is important, but salary should not be the only criteria for you to take up a particular kind of role. अदरवाइज क्या हो जाएगा कि सैलरी देख के आप ज्वाइन कर लोगे, फिर या तो कंपनी पसंद नहीं आएगी, कल्चर पसंद नहीं आएगा, काम पसंद नहीं आएगा, फिर 6 महीने के बाद कुछ ढूंढते फिरोगे। तो ये गलती नहीं करना है। आराम से 1 महीना 2 महीना लेट भी हुआ कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है। आराम से अपना स्किल सेट, अपना इंटरेस्ट लेवल के हिसाब से आपको अपना करियर अपॉर्च्युनिटी या करियर पाथ चूज़ करना है। एंड कीप टेकिंग डिसीजंस, राइट होगा, रॉन्ग हुआ तो वापस राइट डिसीजंस लेंगे। कीप मूविंग अहेड इन लाइफ, एंड व्हेन यू लुक बैक 5 years or 10 years back, you will feel that everything makes sense. Okay, at this point of time it may not make sense, but after 5 years if you look back, everything would make sense.
Okay. Before we end this session, I would like to ask you one more personal question.
Sure.
Uh, you have worked in the corporate, then you switched to teaching. May I know the reason why?
So one was the job became more routine. Okay, so that
Okay.
was one thing, and I always felt that can do something more, something better. not in terms of financial part, but in terms of work part, where you can contribute back. Second thing is, I was associated with paper corrections, and we also used to interview candidates. A lot of places I found that there are a lot of conceptual misses, and if we can help students to crack those conceptual errors, a lot of them can actually succeed in the examination. So that was the drive behind leaving corporate and doing something on our own. So it has been now 7 years. We completed 7 years, and the journey is long. Still is a lot to do.
Yes. So you are feeling worth it for leaving
Yeah,
the corporate?
feeling worth. So if I look back 7 years, that point of time, that decision was very difficult because you're
Ah,
leaving a
yes.
high paying job. You will not have monthly salaries for next couple of years, and how do you manage the family when relocating to a new
Manage
place?
it.
A lot of things were there. But if I connect back 7 years, as I told you, right? If you look back, each event would lead to a subsequent event, and everything now feels like, okay, it was a part of a grand plan.
Agreed. So thanks a lot, Suraj, for joining today. I think we have given a lot of information that will be helpful for students, for professionals who are looking to pivot in their career, or even for finance enthusiasts. So thanks a lot for joining today.
Thanks a lot, Prashant, for having me on this podcast, and all the best to the podcast that you're going to start soon. I've seen that there are series of interviews which are being scheduled, and
Yes.
all the best, and hope you grow a lot, and again, hopefully, we cross roads once again sometime in future.
Thanks a lot. We'll surely cross the roads.
Okay,
For joining.
thanks.